Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars ahead grow dimmer. The massive warship cut through space like a knife, its engines humming with power. Jake had been a captain for 12 years, but he had never seen his crew this nervous before. "Captain, we're getting another message from the Galactic Council," said Communications Officer Rachel Stone. Her voice was tight with worry. "They're begging us to turn around." Jake looked at the main screen. The edge of the void was still 3 hours away, but already the space around them looked wrong. Stars seemed to bend and twist, and empty patches of darkness moved in ways that hurt to look at. "Let me hear it," Jake said. The voice that filled the bridge belonged to Ambassador Zek 7, one of the insect-like Zephyrians who helped run the Galactic Council. The translator made his clicking sounds into worried human words. "Human vessel, you must stop. The void has claimed every ship that entered it for 300 years. Your species is young. Do not throw away your future for curiosity." Commander Lisa Parker, Jake's second-in-command, shook her head. "They've been saying the same thing for weeks." "Why are they so scared?" "Because they know something we don't," said Dr. Amanda Foster from her science station. The ship's xenobiologist had been studying alien records about the void since they left Earth. "Every species tells the same story. Ships go in, they either never come out or they come back empty. No crew, no explanation." Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez spoke up from his post. "The engines are running fine, Captain. Whatever's out there, we're ready for it." Jake nodded. Admiral Susan Blake back on Earth had been very clear. 3 human colony ships had vanished near the void's border in the past month. Each time, the aliens had insisted it was just an accident. But the timing was too convenient. Someone was testing humanity's response. "The aliens aren't telling us everything," Jake said. "They never do. But this time people are missing. Our people." Navigation Officer Chris Turner looked up from his charts. "Captain, I'm reading some strange energy patterns ahead. It's like space itself is twisted into knots." Security Chief Maria Santos walked over to Jake's chair. "Sir, I've got reports from all over the galaxy. Every alien fleet is moving. The Nexari have pulled their crystal ships back to their home system. The Saurians are building up their defense lines. It's like they're preparing for war." Jake frowned. The crystalline Nexari were usually calm and logical. If they were scared enough to run home, something big was happening. And the reptilian Saurians only built up their fleets when they expected major trouble. Dr. Paul Bennett, the ship's doctor, looked worried. "Captain, what if the aliens are right? What if whatever's in the void really is dangerous?" "Then we'll deal with it," Jake said firmly. "We always do." The Defiance was humanity's most advanced warship. It carried the best weapons, the strongest shields, and the smartest crew Earth could provide. If any human ship could survive the void, it was this one. "Sir, we're getting multiple messages now," Rachel said. Her hands moved quickly over her controls. "The Zephyrians are threatening to attack if we don't turn back. The Nexari are offering to share their technology if we abandon this mission. Even the Luminari are trying to contact us, and they never talk to anyone." Jake had heard stories about the Luminari. They were beings made of pure energy, so advanced that they barely noticed other species existed. If they were taking time to contact humanity, the situation was more serious than he thought. "What exactly are they all so afraid of?" asked systems analyst Karen Price. She was in charge of the ship's computer systems, and her screen showed readings that didn't make sense. "The energy patterns ahead are unlike anything in our databases." Lieutenant Commander Alex Thompson studied his tactical display. "Captain, whatever's in there, it's big. My sensors are showing structures that shouldn't exist." "Massive ones. Structures?" Jake leaned forward in his chair. "What kind of structures?" "Unknown design, sir. They don't match any known alien architecture. And they're old. Really old." Jake looked around his bridge. 23 officers and crew members, the best humanity had to offer. Each one had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not come back. They trusted him to make the right choice. "Captain," said Pilot Officer Nick Coleman, "we're 1 hour from the void boundary. Should I prepare for standard entry procedures?" Before Jake could answer, every alarm on the bridge started screaming. The main screen filled with light as dozens of alien ships appeared around them. Zephyrian hive ships, their bug-like hulls bristling with weapons. Saurian war cruisers, long and deadly like metal snakes. Even a few Nexari crystal formations, their faceted surfaces glowing with power. "They're not targeting us," Lisa reported quickly. "They're just watching." The communications board lit up with hundreds of incoming messages. Please threats, offers, warnings. Every alien species in the galaxy seemed to have something to say about humanity's mission. Jake stood up. Cut the chatter. All of it. Rachel's fingers moved over her controls and the bridge fell silent. They can talk all they want, Jake said quietly. But 300 humans are missing. Maybe dead, maybe worse. And these aliens, who supposedly want to help us, won't even tell us why they're so scared. He looked at each member of his crew. I won't order anyone to follow me into the unknown. If you want to transfer to one of those alien ships, now's your chance. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They just looked back at him with steady eyes. Jake smiled. Then let's go see what's got the whole galaxy so scared. All stations prepare for void entry, Lisa announced. The alien ships followed them to the very edge of the boundary, but none crossed it. As the Defiance moved into the strange, twisted space of the void, Jake saw something on his sensors that made his blood run cold. The moment they crossed the boundary, warning lights started flashing on alien ships throughout the galaxy. Ancient monitoring stations hidden for millions of years suddenly came online. And somewhere in the deepest parts of space, things that had been sleeping for eons began to wake up. The galaxy had good reason to panic. Humanity had just triggered something that had been waiting a very long time to happen. The first thing Jake noticed inside the void was the silence. Not the normal quiet of space, but something deeper. It was like the universe itself had stopped breathing. Report, he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. Sensors are going crazy, Captain, said Chris Turner from navigation. Gravity readings show massive objects where there's nothing visible. And time, he paused, checking his instruments twice. Time isn't flowing right. My chronometer says we've been in here for 3 minutes, but the ship's computer says it's been 30 seconds. Dr. Amanda Foster looked up from her science station, her face pale. Captain, the laws of physics seem to work differently here. I'm reading energy patterns that shouldn't exist. Jake walked over to the main view screen. Outside, space looked wrong. Stars twisted in spirals and patches of absolute darkness moved like living things. In the distance, he could see something that made his stomach drop. Are those buildings? He asked. Alex Thompson enhanced the image on his tactical screen. They look artificial, sir. Massive structures, bigger than anything we've ever seen. They're just floating in space with no visible support. How big? Jake asked. The smallest one is about the size of Earth's moon, Captain. The largest, Alex swallowed hard. The largest is bigger than Jupiter. Lisa Parker joined Jake at the view screen. Who could build something like that? Before anyone could answer, Dr. Paul Bennett's voice came over the comm system. Medical bay to bridge. I need to report something strange. Go ahead, Doctor, Jake replied. Several crew members are experiencing unusual symptoms. Enhanced reflexes, improved problem-solving abilities, and some are claiming to hear whispers in their heads. But they're not distressed. If anything, they seem more alert and capable than before. Jake exchanged worried glances with Lisa. Doctor, are they sick? That's just it, Captain. They appear to be healthier than they've ever been. But whatever's happening to them, it's spreading. Slowly, but it's spreading. Maria Santos stepped forward from her security post. Sir, I should mention that I'm one of the affected crew members. I can hear things. Voices, maybe. But they're not threatening. It's more like they're trying to teach me something. Jake studied his security chief. Maria looked the same as always, but there was something different in her eyes. A sharpness that hadn't been there before. What kind of things are they teaching you? Jake asked carefully. How to see patterns in the energy readings. How to understand the structure of this place. It's like having a teacher who speaks directly to your mind. Karen Price suddenly straightened at her computer station. Captain, the ship's AI is changing. The processing speed has increased by 300%, and it's analyzing data in ways I didn't program it to do. Is it malfunctioning? Lisa asked. No, ma'am. It's improving. The AI is solving problems faster and more efficiently than ever before. It's like it's becoming smarter. Danny Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm from the engine room. Bridge, you need to see this. Something's happening to our systems down here. On our way, Jake said. He left Lisa in command of the bridge and took Alex and Maria with him to the engine room. When they arrived, Danny was standing in front of a control panel that Jake didn't recognize. The metal surface was covered in patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living things. This wasn't here an hour ago, Captain, Danny said. It just grew out of the wall. And when I touch it, I understand how it works. It's like it's teaching me. Jake approached the panel carefully. The patterns were beautiful in a way that hurt to look at directly. What does it do? It connects our engines to something much larger, like it's offering to upgrade our power systems. Danny's eyes were bright with excitement. Captain, with this technology, we could travel faster than any ship in the galaxy. Don't touch anything else, Jake ordered. Not until we understand what's happening. As they walked back to the bridge, Maria spoke quietly. Sir, whatever's happening to us, I don't think it's random. It feels purposeful, like we're being prepared for something. When they returned to the bridge, Rachel Stone was staring at her communications board in amazement. Captain, I'm picking up signals from the structures out there. They're not random. They're responding to our presence. What kind of signals? Jake asked. Complicated ones, sir, but somehow I can understand parts of them. It's like learning a new language by having it whispered in your ear. Dr. Foster looked up from her station. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy readings from those structures. They're not just buildings. They're some kind of monitoring system, like a network of sensors watching everything that happens in normal space. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They're watching the galaxy? More than that, sir. Based on the data patterns they've been watching for millions of years, recording everything, learning about every species that develops space travel. Chris Turner called out from navigation. Captain, one of the smaller structures is moving toward us. Slowly but definitely coming our way. On the main screen they could see it. A structure the size of a small moon, covered in the same flowing patterns as the panel in engineering. As it approached, the whispers in the affected crew members' minds grew stronger. They want to talk to us, Maria said suddenly. Not with words, with thoughts. Who wants to talk to us? Jake demanded. The ones who built this place, they call themselves Watchers. They've been waiting for us. Jake looked around his bridge. Half his crew was changing in ways he didn't understand. His ship was growing new technology that shouldn't exist. And now something called the Watchers wanted to communicate. Outside the void, he knew the alien fleets were waiting, probably planning to attack the moment the Defiance tried to leave. They were expecting his ship to come back empty or not come back at all. But Jake was beginning to suspect that when they left the void, they wouldn't be the same ship that entered it. And maybe that was exactly what the Watchers wanted. Sir, said Nick Coleman from his pilot station, the structure is close enough now. I'm reading docking bays. They want us to come aboard. Jake made his decision. Take us in, Nick. Let's meet these Watchers. As the Defiance moved toward the alien structure, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to face a test. And their performance on that test would determine not just their own future, but the future of every species in the galaxy. The question was, what exactly were they being tested for? The docking bay inside the Watcher structure was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The wall seemed to be made of liquid metal that flowed and shifted, creating new patterns every few seconds. The air was breathable somehow, even though they were inside what looked like a solid chunk of alien technology. Stay together, Jake told his away team. He had brought Alex, Maria, Dr. Foster, and Nick with him. The rest of the crew remained on the Defiance, where Danny was discovering more new technology appearing throughout the ship. Captain, Maria whispered. They're here, the Watchers. I can feel them. Jake looked around but saw nothing except the flowing walls and strange lights that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Where? Everywhere. They don't have bodies like us. They exist in the space between dimensions. As Maria spoke, the air in front of them began to shimmer. Slowly, shapes appeared. Not solid beings, but outlines made of light and shadow. They were tall and graceful, with forms that seemed to shift between human-like and something completely alien. One of them stepped forward, or did something that looked like stepping. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in their minds. Welcome, humans. We have been waiting for your species to find us. Jake found his voice. You're the Watchers. We are the guardians of this region of space. For millions of years, we have observed the younger species as they grow and develop. Most fail our tests. A few show promise but lack what is needed. You are different. Dr. Foster stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. What makes us different? The Watcher's form shifted, showing what might have been approval. Your species possesses a rare combination of traits. You adapt quickly to new situations, but you do not lose your core values. You are curious about the unknown, but you protect those who are weaker. Most importantly, you think for yourselves while still working together. What happened to the other species that came here? Jake asked. The ones who failed your tests? Some were too aggressive. They saw our technology and immediately tried to take it by force. Others were too passive. They accepted everything we showed them without question. Both approaches led to failure. Alex spoke up. What kind of failure? The Watcher turned toward him. The aggressive ones destroyed themselves with power they could not control. The passive ones lost their ability to think independently. Both outcomes made them unsuitable for the role we needed them to fill. What role? Jake demanded. Instead of answering, the Watcher gestured to the walls around them. The flowing patterns changed, and suddenly they were looking at images of space. But not their galaxy. This was somewhere else, filled with horrors that made Jake's blood run cold. Your galaxy is young and protected, but beyond its borders ancient evils stir. Beings that consume entire star systems. Machines that turn living worlds into weapons. Entities that exist only to destroy. The images showed worlds being devoured by darkness, fleets of ships disappearing into hungry voids, and creatures made of pure malice spreading across the cosmos like a plague. Every few million years, these forces turn their attention to younger galaxies like yours. When they do, everything you know will be destroyed unless someone stands guard. Maria gasped. You want us to be guards? To protect the galaxy? Not just your species. All the species in your galaxy. But someone must coordinate the defense. Someone must help the others prepare for what is coming. We have watched and tested, and humanity shows the greatest potential for this role. Dr. Foster was studying the images with fascination and horror. How long do we have? The next wave of destruction begins in approximately 1,000 of your years. That may seem like a long time, but preparing an entire galaxy for such a threat requires patience and wisdom. Nick Coleman, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. What about the other aliens? The ones who are so scared of this place? Do they know about these threats? The Watcher's form shifted again. They remember fragments of old stories. Tales of fleets that vanished, of civilizations that ended suddenly. But they have convinced themselves that staying away from us will keep them safe. They do not understand that safety requires preparation. Jake felt the weight of what they were being told. You're asking us to take responsibility for the entire galaxy. That's huge, yes, and it will not be easy. Many species will resist. Some will fear humanity's new role. Others will be jealous of the technology we will share with you. But the alternative is extinction for all. On the Defiance, Jake knew that Danny was still discovering new systems appearing throughout the ship. Karen's AI was becoming smarter by the hour, and more crew members were experiencing the mental enhancements that Maria had first reported. The changes happening to my ship and crew, Jake said. That's part of this, isn't it? The first step. Your species must be enhanced to handle the knowledge and responsibility we will give you, but we do not change your nature. We only help you become more than you already are. Alex looked worried. What if we refuse? What if humanity doesn't want this responsibility? Then we continue waiting. Eventually, another species may develop the necessary traits. But by then, it may be too late. The forces of destruction do not wait for convenient timing. The Watcher showed them more images. Galaxies that had fallen to the ancient evils because no one was prepared. Billions of species that had lived and died never knowing that protection was possible. Your species has a choice, Captain Morrison. Accept the role of galactic guardians and help prepare for the coming darkness. Or return to your normal lives and hope that when the end comes, it will be quick. Jake looked at his team. Maria nodded firmly. She had been hearing the Watcher's voices the longest and understood the stakes. Dr. Foster was practically vibrating with excitement at the thought of accessing such advanced knowledge. Alex looked scared but determined. Nick just shrugged as if protecting the galaxy was just another flying job. What would we have to do? Jake asked. Return to your galaxy. Share what you have learned, carefully. Help other species prepare for cooperation instead of competition. When the time comes, coordinate the defense that will save everything you know. The Watcher paused, and Jake could feel its attention focusing on him. But first, you must prove that humanity can handle the power we will give you. There will be tests. Some will challenge your strength. Others will test your wisdom. All will determine whether your species is truly ready for this burden. Jake thought about the alien fleets waiting outside the void, about the fear in the Galactic Council's messages, about the missing human ships that had brought them here in the first place. When do these tests begin? He asked. The Watcher's form seemed to smile, though Jake couldn't be sure how he knew that. They already have. Suddenly, Alarms started blaring from the Defiance. Rachel Stone's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, you need to get back here now. Every alien fleet in the galaxy is moving toward our position. And, sir, they're not coming to talk." Jake and his team rushed back to the Defiance to find the ship transformed. The corridors glowed with soft light from panels that had grown from the walls like living things. The air felt different too, charged with energy that made everyone more alert. "Report," Jake called as he stepped onto the bridge. Lisa Parker turned from the captain's chair, her eyes wide with concern. "Sir, we've got over 300 alien ships gathering at the edge of the void. Zephyrian hive fleets, Saurian battle groups, Nexari crystal formations, and species I don't even recognize. They're all armed and ready for war." Rachel Stone looked up from her communication station. "Captain, they're not talking to us anymore. They're talking about us. The chatter suggests they think we've been corrupted by whatever's in here." Jake walked to his command chair but stopped when he saw the new controls that had appeared on its armrests. The surfaces were covered with the same flowing patterns they had seen in the Watcher structure. Somehow he understood exactly what each control did. "Danny, what's the status of our ship modifications?" Jake asked over the comm. "Captain, this is incredible," came Danny's excited voice from engineering. "Our power output has increased by 500%. We've got defensive systems I've never seen before. And the engines, sir, I think we could outrun anything the galaxy has ever built." Dr. Foster was studying readings at her science station. "Captain, the crew changes are accelerating. 70% of our people are now showing enhanced abilities, but they're still completely human. It's like the Watchers are unlocking potential that was already there." Karen Price spoke up from her computer station. "Sir, the AI is reporting some interesting information. It's been analyzing galactic communication networks, and apparently, this isn't the first time the aliens have panicked about the void." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Records show similar gatherings of alien fleets 3 other times in the past 1,000 years. Each time, scouts were sent into the void. Each time they came back empty or didn't come back at all. But now, for the first time, a ship has entered the void and maintained communication with the outside." Alex Thompson studied his tactical display. "Captain, whatever weapons we have now, they're not showing up on my standard sensors. But I can feel them. It's like having extra senses I never knew existed." Jake settled into his command chair and felt the new controls respond to his touch. Information flowed into his mind, showing him things about space and energy that no human had ever known before. But underneath all the new knowledge, he was still Jake Morrison. Still the captain who cared about his crew and wanted to protect innocent people. "Sir," said Chris Turner from navigation, "I'm tracking the alien fleet movements. They're not just positioning to attack. They're setting up a blockade. I don't think they plan to let us leave the void alive." Maria Santos approached Jake's chair. "Captain, the Watchers are still with us. They say this is the first test. How we handle a situation where fear drives former allies to become enemies." "What are our options?" Jake asked. "We could fight our way out," Alex said, studying his new tactical systems. "With these enhanced weapons, we might be able to break through their lines. Or we could try to talk to them," suggested Rachel. "Make them understand that we're not a threat." Dr. Foster looked up from her readings. "There's a third option, Captain. We could demonstrate our new capabilities in a way that proves we're still human. Show them that power doesn't have to corrupt." Before Jake could respond, the main view screen activated on its own. The face of Admiral Crix-9, the Zephyrian fleet commander, appeared. His insect features were twisted with fear and anger. "Human vessel," Crix-9's translated voice buzzed with hostility. "You have violated the oldest law in the galaxy. Nothing that enters the void returns unchanged. You have become something alien, something dangerous. We cannot allow you to spread this contamination." Jake stood up, feeling the new knowledge the Watchers had given him organizing itself in his mind. "Admiral Crix-9, we are still human. We've learned things, yes, but we haven't lost who we are." "Lies," Crix-9 clicked angrily. "Every species tells the same story when they first emerge. They claim to be unchanged. Then they begin to conquer, to enslave, to destroy. The void corrupts everything it touches." A new voice joined the conversation. Prime Crystal Zara 9, speaking for the Nexari Collective. Her crystalline form glowed with cold light as she communicated through harmonic vibrations. "Captain Morrison, our records show that 37 species have entered the void over the past 3 million years. 37 different times we have been forced to destroy them to protect the galaxy. Jake felt a chill. The Watchers had mentioned that other species had failed their tests, but he hadn't realized that their failure had led to their destruction by the very species they had tried to protect. What exactly happened to those other species? Jake asked. General Thane of the Saurian Empire answered, his reptilian face scarred from countless battles. They returned with impossible technologies and began to help other species by force. They rewrote our laws, restructured our governments, and treated us like children who needed their guidance. When we resisted, they used their new powers to make us obey. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was listening intently, and he could see them beginning to understand the real challenge they faced. How do you convince people that you won't abuse power when every previous example had done exactly that? We're different, Jake said finally. They all said that, Crix-9 replied. Dr. Paul Bennett's voice came over the comm from the medical bay. Captain, I'm monitoring the psychological profiles of all crew members. Despite the enhancements, everyone is still showing the same ethical patterns they had before. The changes aren't affecting our moral judgment. Tony Wells, the communications specialist, suddenly looked up from his station. Captain, I'm getting information directly from the Watcher network. They're showing me what happened to those other species. What did you see? Jake asked. The Watchers didn't corrupt them. The species corrupted themselves. When they got back to the galaxy and tried to share the Watchers' message about the coming threats, they became frustrated with how slowly other species responded. So they started using force to make them listen. The power went to their heads. Jake felt pieces falling into place. So this is the real test. Not whether we can handle the Watchers' technology, but whether we can handle other people's fear of that technology. Maria nodded. The Watchers are still here, Captain. They say this moment determines everything. How we respond to being feared and threatened will show whether humanity can truly protect the galaxy or whether we'll just become another species that has to be stopped. On the view screen, Admiral Crix-9 was consulting with other fleet commanders. Jake could see weapons powering up on dozens of ships. The alien coalition was preparing to attack. Captain, Lisa said quietly, whatever we do, we need to decide quickly. They're not going to wait much longer. Jake looked at his transformed ship, his enhanced crew, and the fearful faces of species that humanity had once hoped to call friends. The Watchers had given them the power to protect the galaxy. But first they had to prove they wouldn't use that power to control it. The next few minutes would determine not just whether the Defiance survived, but whether humanity deserved the cosmic responsibility the Watchers wanted to give them. Jake studied the alien fleet on his view screen. 300 ships, all pointed at his single vessel. The smart move would be to demonstrate the Defiance's new weapons, show them that attacking would be pointless. But Jake had learned enough about failed species to know that showing strength first would only confirm their worst fears. Rachel, open a channel to all ships, Jake ordered. Channel open, sir. Jake stood up, making sure his posture was calm and non-threatening. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Defiance. I know you're scared. I would be too if I were in your position. Several alien commanders started to respond angrily, but Jake continued. You've seen this before. Species go into the void, come out changed, and then start forcing their will on everyone else. I understand why you think we'll do the same thing. Admiral Crix-9's hostile buzzing filled the comm channel. Because you will, human. Power always corrupts. It is the way of the universe, maybe, Jake said. But before you attack us, let me show you something. Not our weapons, not our new technology. Let me show you who we still are. He gestured to Lisa, who activated a new display system that had grown from the bridge walls. Images appeared showing the interior of the Defiance. Crew members working together, helping each other adapt to their new abilities. Dr. Bennett treating a crewman who was having trouble with his enhancements, making sure no one was left behind. Danny and his engineering team sharing their new knowledge freely, with no one trying to hoard power. These are my people, Jake said. Enhanced, yes. Changed, yes. But still human. Still the same crew that volunteered for this mission knowing they might never come home. Prime Crystal Zara 9's harmonic voice resonated with doubt. You show us cooperation within your own species. But what happens when you return to the galaxy? When you have the power to force other species to do what you think is best? Jake had been thinking about that question since learning about the Watcher's offer. Dr. Foster, tell them what we learned about the threat that's coming. Dr. Foster activated her science station's new display capabilities. Images of the ancient destroyers appeared. the cosmic horrors that periodically swept through younger galaxies like plagues. In approximately 1,000 years, these entities will turn their attention to our galaxy, Dr. Foster explained. Everything we know, every species, every world will be destroyed unless we work together to prepare defenses. General Thane of the Saurians snarled. More lies. You manufacture a distant threat to justify your new power. It's not manufactured, said Tony Wells, the communications specialist who could now interface directly with the Watcher information networks. I can show you the records. Galaxies that fell because no one was ready. Species that died because they couldn't cooperate. On the view screen, Tony shared images from the Watcher archives. Dead galaxies, empty systems where billions of civilizations had once thrived. The scope of destruction was overwhelming. Even if this threat is real, Admiral Crix 9 said, his buzzing subdued by what he was seeing. How do we know you won't use fear of it to control us? Jake made his decision. Because I'm going to prove it to you right now. He walked to his command chair and placed his hands on the new controls. Immediately, he could feel the full power of the enhanced defiance flowing through his consciousness. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets, shields that could withstand anything the alien coalition could throw at them, engines that could outrun any pursuit. The power was incredible, intoxicating. For a moment, Jake understood exactly how previous species had been corrupted. It would be so easy to simply force the aliens to listen, to make them understand. But instead of activating weapons or shields, Jake did something else. He opened every system on the Defiance to external scanning. There, Jake said, every enhancement, every new technology, every capability we've gained. Scan it all, study it, learn from it. We're not hiding anything from you. The alien fleet commanders were stunned. General Thane spoke first. You're giving us access to your new technology? The parts that will help you prepare for what's coming, yes, Jake replied. The Watchers chose humanity to coordinate galactic defense, but that doesn't mean we have to do it alone. Every species has strengths. Every civilization has something to contribute. Maria Santos stepped forward. The Watchers are telling me something, Captain. They say this is what the other species never understood. They thought being chosen meant being superior. But it really means being responsible for helping everyone succeed. Dr. Foster was monitoring the alien scans of their ship. Captain, they're finding things in our systems that could revolutionize their own technology. Defensive improvements, communication enhancements, even medical advances that could extend their lifespans. Prime Crystal Zara 9's harmonic voice carried a note of wonder. These improvements, they're not weapons. They're tools for building, for protecting, for healing. The Watchers didn't enhance us to make us conquerors, Jake explained. They enhanced us to make us better protectors, better teachers, better partners. Admiral Crix 9 was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his tone was less hostile. Human Captain, your actions are unexpected. But how can we trust that this cooperation will continue? How do we know you won't change your minds when you return to normal space? Jake looked around his bridge. At Lisa, who had supported every decision he'd made. At Alex, who was ready to fight if necessary, but preferred to solve problems without violence. At all his crew members, enhanced but still recognizably human. Because that's who we are, Jake said simply. We're the species that explores dangerous places to rescue missing people. We're the ones who share our food with strangers and protect those who can't protect themselves. The Watchers didn't give us new values. They just gave us better tools to express the values we already had. Danny Rodriguez's voice came over the comm from engineering. Captain, I'm detecting power buildups in several alien ships, but they're not charging weapons. They're modifying their systems based on the data we shared. Dr. Foster smiled. They're already starting to prepare for the real threat, working together instead of fighting. On the view screen, Jake could see the change in the alien commander's expressions. Fear was being replaced by cautious hope. Suspicion was giving way to curiosity. Captain Morrison, General Thane said slowly, if humanity truly intends to coordinate galactic defense rather than galactic conquest, the Saurian Empire is prepared to discuss cooperation. Prime Crystal Zara 9's harmonic tones carried agreement. The Nexari Collective will contribute our computational abilities to any defensive preparations. Admiral Crix 9 buzzed thoughtfully. The Zephyrian hives have extensive manufacturing capabilities. If this threat is real, we will help build whatever defenses are needed. Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Then let's go home and get started. We have 1,000 years to prepare, but that might not be enough time even if we all work together. As the Defiance prepared to leave the void, Jake could feel the Watchers' approval. They had passed the test. Not by proving they were strong enough to force cooperation, but by proving they were wise enough to inspire it. The enhanced ship emerged from the void accompanied not by an attacking fleet, but by an escort of allies. As they traveled back toward inhabited space, the conversations between ships focused not on fear or threats, but on plans and possibilities. Humanity had become the galaxy's protectors, but they wouldn't be protecting it alone, and somewhere in the deep void between galaxies, ancient evils continued their slow approach, unaware that this time, their target was ready for them. Jake Morrison looked out at the stars and smiled. The galaxy had panicked when humanity's warship entered the void, but they had emerged with something more valuable than weapons or technology. They had emerged with hope.